We have tryouts and we have draft camps coming up. Now, you have to keep in mind when we show up for tryouts, when we show up for these things, we have a very small window to perform, to turn heads, to impress the coaches and the scouts that are going to be looking at us. Okay, we're going there to be judged. We are going there to be observed. So, obviously, the three things that we are going to talk about are the three things that are going to be very obvious to people who are looking at you. The first thing is your body language, right? That is going to be the number one tell of how confident you are on your skates, in the plays, and with your hockey IQ, your body language. The second thing is your focus. Where are you focused? Does it actually look like you're in your head getting twirled around with your thoughts, or are you focusing on the play and the next move? And the third thing is our self-talk, because if we are pumping ourselves up, again, that's going to speak through our body language. Now, I actually have a sheet that we're going to work through today. It's an exercise that is included in the Flow State Unleashed online course, but I'm going to pull that out of this today and we're going to work through it together. And this is really going to help put everything into perspective. It's going to help us understand when we're slipping or when we're at our best and really complete that picture, that puzzle, so that we know what we're walking into and we know how to reset when it matters most. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Oops. This is the worksheet called Know Your Signal Lights. And again, it highlights body language, focus, and self-talk. But then the other two that we're also going to go through today is our physical feelings and the situations that put us in those specific boxes. Now, green is when we are in full control of ourselves. Okay, this is when we feel the most confident and we're giving ourselves the best chance for success. Yellow is when we're starting to lose control. We're starting to lose focus mentally. Maybe we're starting to get stuck in our head. And we're just kind of like on that borderline of like, we're kind of neutral, but starting to spiral down. And red is when we're completely out of control, beating ourselves up, and we just feel like there's no way back to clamber back, right? Obviously, when we're showing up for tryouts, for draft camps, being in red is going to be very obvious to people who are judging us. And so we definitely want to remain in green. And the good thing about the green zone is that we are in complete control of our reactions and our mindset and how we show up all the time at any given moment. Like it's fully in our own control. So if you find yourself slipping, then we'll talk about the different things that at the end, the different things we can do to reset to get us back into that green zone. Let's talk about body language first. Again, this is probably one of the most telling features you have, or ways of communicating with the coach without actually speaking. Our body language speaks volumes. So it's really important to assess ourselves when we show up for tryouts. So our green body language, again, this is when we're the most confident. Our shoulders are back. We're skating tall. We're communicating with the team. We're giving eye contact, and we probably have a pretty loose grip on our stick, right? We're feeling confident. Our yellow is when we're slightly frustrated. And maybe we have those frustrated facial expressions when we start getting a little more pensive in the face, dramatic body movements. Maybe we're starting to like get a little frustrated and flustered. And red is when we start avoiding eye contact altogether. We're shaking our head when we make a mistake. Maybe we're starting to slam our stick out of frustration. This is when we've lost all control. All right, so let's talk about our focus. Our focus is so important because if you are being considered for a AAA team or an OHL team or even NHL, you have to be able to focus on what's the most important thing at any given time. And when you're playing hockey, the only thing that's important is the next play. It's that present moment. It's being locked into what's happening right now. The second our focus starts to drift on mistakes or whether or not we're going to let our teammates down or our coaches, our focus is no longer here. So it's important to keep pulling ourselves back to present moment. Now let's talk about what it looks like to have green focus. This is like I just mentioned this. It's focused on present moment, allowing the natural flow of the game. When we're in yellow, when we're starting to slip, it's when we're starting to worry about the teammates and the coaches and the parents if we're performing badly. So we're starting to get stuck in our head. So instead of focusing on the game, we're starting to focus on what's going to happen. We start freezing in fear. And red is when we're only focused on mistakes, when we're only focusing on how many mistakes we make in any given shift. That's when we've lost focus. Okay, it's so important to have this awareness to be able to pull ourselves back into the green zone. Mistakes happen. Mistakes are part of the game, but if we're only focused on that, then our whole game is going to fall apart. We need to pull ourselves back to present moment, what's happening, where's the puck, where's our opponents, where's our focus. Okay? All right, so let's talk about self-talk. This is one of the biggest pieces to help pull us back into the green zone. Okay, so when we are in green, our self-talk is going to be super confident. It's going to be, you got this. All this practice is paying off. You're doing your part to help the team. We're totally locked in. Yellow is when we are slightly falling apart. And, yellow, you're kind of maybe threatening yourself a little bit more and like giving yourself those warnings. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. If you play badly, everyone's going to blame you for the loss, right? So it's not that positive anymore. All of a sudden, we're kind of threatening ourselves or slightly shaming ourselves. And red is when we're just, oh, you always make this mistake. It's all your fault if we lose. This is your fault. Can't believe you did this, right? We've completely thrown in the towel. So let's talk about our feelings. So when we are in green, our muscles are relaxed. We have good energy. We feel unstoppable, excited, pumped up, happy, energized. So all of these things are going to contribute to a good performance. And when we're starting to slip, we're starting to feel a little nervous, anxious about messing up. We're starting to hesitate. We're feeling a little unsure. And when we're in red, we're just mad, irritated, angry, frustrated, and upset. Like we've totally lost it. Now, putting this all together, I kind of want to do a little bit of a recap. When we're in green, this is when we're feeling confident. Our shoulders are back. We're communicating with the team. We're focused on present moment. Our self-talk is confident and we're pumping ourselves up and we feel good and energized, unstoppable. This is how we want to show up for tryouts. This is how we want to show up for draft camps because this is what is going to be seen by the coaches who are assessing you. So when we start feeling ourselves moving into that yellow zone, when we're starting to get worried, when we're starting to feel frustrated, when we're starting to feel anxious and nervous about our performance, there's a couple of things we can do to reset this situation. Again, it's adjusting our self-talk. Like anything that we can start doing in the green zone is going to help pull everything into the green zone. So if we're feeling yellow, okay, and then all of a sudden, instead of saying to yourself, don't screw this up, instead inserting, you've got this. You're doing your part to help your team, right? You switch one of these tiles back to green, they're all going to follow. They're all going to naturally follow because as you speak confidently into yourself, then it's going to start relaying into the rest of your body and the rest of your performance. Okay? So I want you to remember that. So even if you're in red and if you're telling yourself, I always make the same mistakes, and you're irritated and you're mad and you're angry, you just make one little shift into the green, doesn't matter, even if it's just putting your shoulders back and being confident in your body language, or just reminding yourself, just stay focused on the puck, just make one little decision in the green zone, and it's going to pull your entire performance back into green. Okay, and now I call these 5-second resets. It's anything that you can do to interrupt this pattern of thinking and behavior. Okay, and everybody's going to be a little bit different, but it's anything we can do to pull ourselves out of the yellow or the red zone back into green. And some people use I am statements. Some people use, breath work, breathing. Some of my clients have an elastic band around their wrist and they smack it. And that just reminds them, like, no, present moment, like get your head back into the game. Anything you can do to switch anything back into green is going to be so beneficial for you and your performance. Okay. So you got to remember that when we're in the green zone, we're confident, we're smooth, we're focused on present moment, our muscles are relaxed, we have good energy. This is what we want to bring to tryouts, to playoffs. Okay. Now, the situations, it's kind of important to wrap this up into the situations that might start pulling us out of green. Okay. Already you might be in yellow feeling a little nervous because you're showing up for tryouts. So it's a little extra pressure. It's a little more uncertainty. So we already might be starting off in tryouts, right? Tryouts might start making us feel nervous. But there's other things that could, right? So some things that will contribute to you being in green is knowing you've prepared, knowing you've warmed up, knowing you've done the most you can to prepare. And in the yellow is when you think you could have done something more. Like maybe you weren't locked in on your habits. Maybe you didn't follow your pregame routine. I had one athlete who would feel really nervous through her games if she didn't cross everything off on her pregame routine because she knew that brought her to that sense of completion for the games. And some maybe you feel yellow when you get corrected, right? All of a sudden, then all that sparks that self-doubt feeling because you think you could have done better. And then red is when you make mistakes and when an official makes a bad call and you're just sent right off the edge. Okay. So it's kind of important to understand when you might get caught off guard because if we can anticipate these moments, then we can kind of stop it from happening or bounce back quicker. Okay. So the more awareness we can bring to this table and when we're in red and when we're in yellow, then the quicker we can move ourselves back into the green zone. Again, I'm not going to emphasize this enough today, but when we're in tryouts and when we're in draft camps, it's so important to remain in the green, especially for body language. That's the only thing they can assess from the bench is your body language. So even if you make a mistake, skate tall, just and get back into the game. Okay. All right, so that's it for this quick little master class. I hope this was really helpful for you to prepare for whatever you have coming up this season. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Of course, I have the Flow State Unleashed online course with 10 full modules. This is just like 1% of the course. So if you're really looking to lock in your performance for this season, I would love to have you on board. If not, just obviously feel free to, support the community. Thank you so much.